Shabbat Shalom, my friends. January 1st, 2022. Wow, okay. But what is the proper greeting today besides, of course, Shabbat Shalom? Is it Happy New Year? Or is it perhaps Happy Sylvester? In Israel, this is the very real and very divisive question. A bit of background. In 46 BCE, the Roman Emperor Julius Caesar adjusted the Roman calendar and set January 1st as the beginning of the year, and instead of March. Truth be told, all cultures today celebrate the new year according to their own calendars and their own customs. For Jews in 2022, this is the year 5782, and our new year, Rosh Hashanah, began this past September. When the Roman Empire became the Holy Roman Empire under Constantine, it carried on the custom of celebrating the Roman New Year. This calendar, in deference to Julius Caesar, was still called the Julian calendar. In many European countries today, January 1st is called Sylvester, after a powerful Pope, Sylvester, who lived in the 4th century CE, who was believed to have died on December 31st and who was later canonized as Saint Sylvester. Now, we know that most parts of Israeli society flow simultaneously according to two distinct calendars, the Jewish and the Julian. And many documents in Israel will actually carry both dates on them. The Israeli Orthodox and Haredi communities will only use the Jewish calendar, and they react very strenuously when the Julian calendar is utilized, most especially when it comes to January 1st. Many Israeli hotels have had their kashrut certificates threatened if they dared to advertise a New Year's Eve party. And thus we find in Israel a proliferation of Sylvester parties. I guess honoring a pope is somehow better than honoring Julius Caesar or something. Bottom line, Happy Sylvester, Happy New Year, Shabbat Shalom, your choice. Whatever will serve to move us past 2021 and its multitude of horrors into a new year filled with blessing. Whoops! One more thing. This Shabbat is also when we bless the new month of Shavat in the Hebrew calendar, which means that Tu B'Shvat celebrations begin on January 16th as we celebrate and worry about Mother Earth. Okay. Our Sedra, the second Sedra in the book of Exodus, is Va-Eira, beginning Exodus chapter 6, verse 2 and following. Moses' first intervention with Pharaoh was a disaster. In response to Moses' demands, the Egyptians multiplied Israelite suffering, and the slaves turned on Moses and on Aaron and accused them of having put swords into the Egyptian hands, swords which will be used to destroy the very people whom Moses had promised in the name of God to liberate. Our Sedra, God now reconfirms to Moses the divine intention to free the Israelites. God will see Pharaoh stubbornly resist and thus bring disaster upon the Egyptians. And so, in our Sedra, the first 6 of the 10 plagues are launched. And 4 different words are chosen in the text to portray God's promised salvationary acts, thus giving the rabbis much later on the opportunity to mandate the use of 4 cups of wine during the Passover Seder. Shai Held correctly notes that actually 5, not 4, 5 different words are used to convey God's promises. I will take you out. I will rescue you. I will redeem you. I will take you to be my people. And 5, I will bring you into the land. But somehow, that 5th promise did not end up being a cup of wine. The promise of entering the land kind of disappears. What's left is a promise of release from slavery, departure from Egypt, a journey toward the promised land, and an eternal connection between God and the Israelites. How did the 5th promise get erased? Precisely because we will never know the answer to that question. The door is thrown open wide for rabbinic creativity. Maybe because the actual Seder was conceptualized during a time after the destruction of the Second Temple, when the Jewish people, for the most part, had been driven out of their land. What's the point of celebrating promise number 5 when it is obvious history has set it aside? And what's the point of celebrating the promised land when the Jewish community of Babylonia at that time was far stronger both in numbers and in rabbinic scholarship than the community back home in Palestine? Here, Held does some amazing teaching. Think, he asks, where the Torah itself ends, not in the promised land, but rather at the very borders of the promised land. The symphony is unfinished in the Torah, and the Haggadah follows the same path. Maybe entering the land, maybe seeing all of our dreams fulfilled is not the real purpose of our existence. Maybe what is truly sacred, what is truly holy, what is really of transcendent importance is the journey itself. Held asks us to look far more seriously into our own tradition. What do Pesach, Sukkot, and Shavuot have in common? They're all, right? Pilgrimage festivals, good. They are all festivals that discuss motion and that require the remembrance of a journey. The true joy of those 3 festivals is to be found in our reenacting the journey of our ancestors to the temple to bring offerings of thanksgiving. Rabbi Louis Jacobs is quoted as saying that the search for Torah is itself Torah. I love it. The search for Torah is itself Torah, the journey. Rabbi Menachem Mendel of Kotz taught, the searching itself is the finding. That's beautiful, yeah? The searching itself is finding, the journey. Even crossing the border does not really mark the end of the journey, because the destination is actually never static, nor is it free from danger, from challenges, from pain and disappointment. The journey to the promised land did not end when Joshua led the Israelites across the Jordan River. I would also not hesitate to say that the journey to the promised land in our day did not end either when the state of Israel was proclaimed in 1948. Think about that. Held states that the Torah did not choose to give us simple, happy endings. The Haggadah itself did not choose to give us simple, happy endings. Life itself does not choose to give us simple, happy endings. Instead, for all of its complexity, for all of its challenges, for all of its satisfactions, the journey is what life is all about. Oh, wait, you're not happy. You're not satisfied. Okay, one last thought. Maybe there are some who will say that the fifth cup is actually already on the Seder table. Kos Eliyahu, the cup of Elijah. That's why it's there, because we don't know whether there are 4 or 5 promises. The true promised land awaits Elijah's arrival. Okay. Shabbat Shalom. Happy Sylvester. Happy New Year. Let's come together next week as our Torah journey continues. Have a great week.